Radio frequency 7.62. Chapter 1. Signal and Noise, Guatemala. June 18, 1954. 11:47 in the evening. Maria Medina lies bleeding on her kitchen floor. Her husband, Enrico, presses a towel against her stomach, already soaked red. Their 2-year-old daughter cries in the corner. The radio is on. The announcer voice is clear, authoritative. Attention. Liberation forces have entered Guatemala City. All supporters of the communist regime will be found and punished. If your home is hiding a traitor to the homeland, you have 1 hour to turn them in. Otherwise, your entire family will bear responsibility. Maria grabs her husband's hand. Her lips are stained with blood. She whispers, "Enrico, run. You worked for the Land Reform Ministry. They will come for you." Enrico looks at his wife, at his daughter, at the shotgun in the corner. The voice from the radio continues with terrifying calm. Citizens of the Santa Maria district. Our forces will arrive within 20 minutes. Prepare your documents. Open your doors. Resistance is futile. Enrico realizes they do not have 20 minutes. Maria has shrapnel wounds. The hospital is 5 blocks away. But if they catch him on the way, he picks up the shotgun, puts it to his temple. Maria screams, "No." The sound of gunfire. Silence. Then the voice from the radio again, still calm. The cleanup operation has been completed successfully. We repeat, Maria dies an hour later from blood loss. Neighbors find the daughter in the morning, alive. What Maria and Enrico did not know. The voice that had just destroyed their family belonged to a radio announcer from Detroit named Thomas Cole. He was sitting in a radio studio in Honduras, 124 miles from Guatemala. No one was in the Santa Maria district, no liberation forces, no invasion, just a voice on the radio and a family that believed it. Detroit, Michigan, 3 months earlier. Thomas Cole sits in his car outside the maternity hospital. In his hands, a medical report about infertility. The diagnosis is final. He will never become a father. His wife Helen walks out of the hospital. Her eyes are red from tears. She gets in the car silently. Cole tries to say something. The words will not come. He, a professional radio host for the first time in his life, does not know what to say. Helen whispers, "Tom, I need time to think." The next week, she files for divorce. Cole is left alone in an empty apartment, surrounded by photos of a family he will never have. On the table lies a letter from the Central Intelligence Agency. A job offer, classified, overseas, Cole thinks. He has nothing to lose. He will not have children, no family either. Why not try to create a new life? He does not know that his voice will soon destroy thousands of families. Guatemala City. Same time. Captain Carlos Medina gets a phone call at 3 in the morning. The duty officer voice trembles. "Sir, you need to come immediately. We've intercepted a radio transmission." Medina dresses in the dark, trying not to wake his wife and 2 sons. At headquarters, a recording awaits him. He puts on headphones, hears perfect Spanish with a barely noticeable North American accent. "Attention to military units of Guatemala. National Liberation Forces have crossed the border at 4 points. Your resistance is meaningless. Lay down your weapons." Medina stops the recording, rewinds, listens again. Something familiar in this voice, the timbre, the rhythm, the way of pronouncing consonants. Suddenly, he understands. His older brother Miguel, the one who left for America 5 years ago to study journalism, the one who stopped answering letters a year ago. With trembling hands, Medina dials a number in New York. Answering machine. His brother voice. "You have reached Miguel Medina. Leave a message." The same voice as in the recording. Medina realizes his brother is working against his homeland. Possibly without even understanding it. Honduras, Swan Island radio station, same time. Thomas Cole finishes his night shift. For 7 days now, he's been playing different characters. General Fuente, Colonel Herrera, Captain Valdez. There are 11 other operators in the studio, but only 3 of them know the real purpose of the operation. The rest think they are recording a radio play for the State Department. Among them is Miguel Medina, a young journalist from Guatemala, studied at Columbia University. The Central Intelligence Agency recruited him a year ago, convincing him that he was helping democratic forces in his homeland. Miguel does not know that his voice is being transmitted to Guatemala live. He thinks these are training recordings. Cole watches Miguel and feels nauseous. The guy sincerely believes he is helping his people, but in reality, Cole begins to understand the real cost of the operation for the first time. Central Intelligence Agency handler Frank Wisner enters the studio with new scripts. His face is grim. Wisner explains, "Gentlemen, Phase 1 has been completed successfully. We have created panic. Now, Phase 2. We need to make the Guatemalan army believe that resistance is useless." He hands out new texts. Cole reads his, a list of addresses in Guatemala City, specific names, specific threats, Wisner adds. These people actually exist. Some of them actually worked in the government. The more specific we are, the more convincing we will sound. Cole raises his hand. What if these people hear the broadcast? Wisner shrugs. Then they will draw the right conclusions, Cole asks. What conclusions? Wisner looks at him coldly. That they should leave the country or change professions. We are not killers, Mr. Cole. We are just giving people information to make decisions. In that moment, Cole understands. He is no longer a radio host. He is a weapon. Guatemala City, Presidential Palace. That same evening, President Jacobo Arbenz sits in his office with Captain Medina. On the desk is a stack of intercepted recordings. Arbenz rubs his eyes wearily. Captain, you are claiming that this entire coup is being carried out by a handful of Americans from a radio station. Medina nods. Mr. President, I have technical evidence and personal evidence. He tells about his brother voice. Arbenz listens silently. Arbenz asks, do you consider your brother a traitor? Medina shakes his head. No, sir. I think he does not know what he is doing. The Americans are using him. Arbenz stands, goes to the window. Below is the square. Crowds of people with signs. Some demand his resignation. Others support him. Arbenz thinks aloud. Carlos, if your own brother is working against you without understanding it, how many other people are doing the same thing? Medina does not answer. He knows the answer and does not want to say it. Honduras, radio station. That same night, Cole cannot sleep. He thinks about the family from the morning news, Enrico and Maria. Their daughter left orphaned because of his words. He approaches Miguel Medina. The guy is reading a letter from family. Cole asks, how are things at home? Miguel smiles. Great. My brother writes that my work here is very important. Says that thanks to people like me, Guatemala will soon be free. Cole feels his stomach clench. Miguel's brother does not know where he works, which means He supports the operation directed against Miguel himself. Cole understands. The Central Intelligence Agency has created the perfect trap. Family against family, brother against brother, and everyone thinks they are doing the right thing. In this moment, he grasps the full picture of the operation. This is not just propaganda. This is the destruction of the very concept of truth. When no one knows who to believe, people believe the loudest voice, and the loudest voice belongs to whoever has the most powerful transmitter. The next morning, Cole receives a message from his wife. Ex-wife, Helen writes, "Tom, I saw the news about Guatemala. Are you there? Please be careful." Cole looks at the message, then at the microphone, then at today's script. A list of 27 addresses. 27 families who tonight will listen to his voice and make decisions about life and death. Cole understands. Helen still worries about him, and he is destroying the families of people who never did him any harm. For the first time in 3 months, he asks himself, what if he is on the wrong side? But it is already too late. The operation has gained momentum, words have become reality, and reality demands blood. Cole turns on the microphone and speaks the first line of today's script. Attention. This is the final warning for collaborationists. His voice flies through the airwaves toward Guatemala, where Captain Medina listens to every word and understands that his brother is now signing the death warrant of their homeland. And somewhere in Detroit, Helen Cole turns on the radio and hears her ex-husband voice declaring war on a country she has never heard of. The war began not with bullets, but with words, and words proved deadlier than any weapon. Radio frequency 7.62. Chapter 2, Resonance Frequency, Honduras, Swan Island Radio Station, June 19, 1954. 4 in the morning. Thomas Cole has not slept all night. In his hands is a letter that arrived an hour ago through a courier. Red Cross, International Aid Organization. The letter is brief. Mr. Cole, your wife Helen Cole has applied for a position as a nurse in our mission in Guatemala. As her nearest relative, can you confirm her qualifications? Cole reads the letter a third time. His hands shake. Helen is flying to Guatemala, the country he destroys every night with his voice. Cole walks to the window. Dawn over the Caribbean Sea. 200 miles away from him, his ex-wife is packing a suitcase to fly and save people he kills with words. Behind him, rustling. He turns around. Miguel Medina is sitting at a table with headphones on, shock on his face pale, headphones still on his head. Miguel removes the headphones. His hands are shaking. His voice is barely audible. Tom, what was that? Cole walks closer. What did you hear? Miguel points at the radio. I was picking up local channels. Our broadcast. I heard my brother. I heard him say my name. Tom, he is crying. My brother is crying on live radio and calling my name. Part 1 complete. Send Part 2 when you are ready, and I will continue without cutting anything, and I will convert every measurement into how Americans would naturally say it for audio, using miles, feet, and megahertz. Guatemala City, National Radio Broadcasting Station, 12:30 at night. Captain Carlos Medina sits on the edge of a desk. In front of him lies an address. The address of the morgue at San Juan de Dios Hospital. He knows who he will find there. Medina picks up the phone. He calls the chief medical examiner. His voice is solid, but something in it cracks. Doctor, This is Captain Medina. I need a list of all admissions today. Suicides. Starting from 4 in the morning. The doctor lists the names. Medina writes them down. With each name, his hand presses the pen harder. The doctor finishes. Captain, today is unusual. People are listening to the radio and losing their minds. Mothers are poisoning their children to save them from. Medina interrupts. From what, doctor? The doctor answers. From alleged executions, from an alleged invasion, from an alleged end of the world. Medina closes his eyes. Thank you, doctor. He hangs up the phone and stands. He drives to the morgue. He needs to see the faces of the dead, not as numbers in a report, but as people. The morgue, San Juan de Dios Hospital. Midnight, Medina enters the cold room. The smell of formaldehyde, rows of tables. On each table, a body covered with a sheet. The doctor silently points him to table number 8, just points his finger. Medina walks over. He breathes deeply. He lifts the sheet. Before him is the face of a man about 40 years old. A bullet wound in the temple, dried blood on his cheek. Medina recognizes him immediately. Julio Martinez, history teacher. 5 years ago, he came to Medina House. He gave private lessons to his brothers, to Miguel and to young Carlos. He talked about human rights, democracy, justice. Medina knew him his entire life. 3 days ago, a voice on the radio called Julio an enemy of the state, called his address, called the time when he was usually home. 2 hours ago, they found him dead in his kitchen. Next to him, a note. I'm sorry. I could not do it any other way. Medina falls to his knees. He cannot breathe. The pain is physical, like a punch to the stomach. The doctor waits silently. He has seen this many times over the last 2 days. Medina stands. He wipes his face. He pulls the sheet back over Julio's body, gently, as if tucking a child into bed. Medina whispers, Julio, I will stop him. I do not know how, but I will stop him. He walks out of the morgue. Medina knows what he needs to do. He knows who needs to hear his voice. National radio broadcasting station, 12:15 at night. Medina bursts into the studio with 4 soldiers. The station director jumps from his chair. The director screams, Sir, you cannot just. One of the soldiers puts a gun barrel to his temple. Medina places a document on the table. Emergency powers from the president. I need full airtime immediately. The director goes pale. He presses a button. The music fades. The airwave is clear. Medina sits down at the microphone. His hands are trembling, but his voice, when he speaks, is cold as steel. Medina turns on the broadcast. Citizens of Guatemala, this is Captain Carlos Medina, military intelligence. I am telling you the truth you will not hear anywhere else. The voices you are hearing on frequency 7.62 megahertz are enemies of your country. They are sitting in Honduras. They are not in Guatemala. There is no invasion. I repeat, there is no invasion. He pauses. He breathes. He understands that he just said the most dangerous word in Guatemala at this moment. Truth. Medina continues, and his voice becomes personal, piercing. Among these Americans is a person I know better than anyone in the world. It is my younger brother, Miguel. I love him. I've always protected him, but he does not know what he is doing. He does not know that his voice is killing our people. Medina pauses. He wipes his eyes with the back of his hand. Medina speaks with breaking voice. Miguel, if you are hearing me, listen carefully. There is a person, a history teacher. His name is Julio Martinez. Do you remember him? He gave you lessons in our house. He talked about democracy. Do you remember silence? Only static noise in the airwave. Medina continues. This evening, after your broadcast, Julio listened to your voice. He heard his address. He heard that he would be arrested at midnight. He could not take it. He chose death over pain. Medina places a photograph on the microphone, an official photo of Julio, with glasses, with a smile. Medina says, looking directly at the photograph, "Your voice, Miguel. Your voice killed this man. He chose a bullet instead of hope because he believed you, because you sound like an authority. You sound like truth." Medina voice breaks. "Miguel, I saw his body 2 hours ago. I saw what he looked like, and I thought, my brother did this. Honduras, Swan Island radio station, same time." Miguel hears every word. The headphones transmit his brother voice in real time, a voice that sounds like a death sentence. Miguel stands. His legs will not hold him. Cole catches him before he falls. Miguel whispers, "Tom, I am killing teachers. I am killing people who believe in education, in democracy, in goodness." Frank Wisner bursts into the studio, face red with anger, sees that Medina is on the air. Wisner screams at the technician, "Cut off their signal, immediately." The technician answers nervously, "Sir, their signal is stronger. They are using the national station. We cannot." Wisner grabs the technician by the throat. "I do not want to hear 'we cannot.' Cut it off. Now." But it is already too late. Medina voice has filled the entire airwave of Guatemala, in the studio of Guatemala National Radio Station. Medina looks at Julio photograph and says something that few people on earth would dare to say. "Miguel, come home, or stop this. But if you continue, I will never forgive you, and our mother will not forgive you." The word mother creates a pause. Medina closes his eyes and says the last thing. "Brother, I love you, but I love my country more." He presses the button. The airwave closes. Silence in the studio. The director stands with his mouth open. The soldiers do not move. Medina stands. His hands are still shaking, but his eyes have an icy clarity. Medina tells the soldiers, "Guard this studio. No Americans get access to the airwave. Never." "Understood." The soldiers nod. Medina leaves. He has done the only thing he could. He has given his brother a chance to choose. Honduras, Swan Island radio station, same time. After Medina words about their mother, there is dead silence in the studio. Miguel just stands, not breathing, not moving, like a statue. Cole walks closer. Miguel slowly turns around. Something in his eyes has died. Miguel speaks calmly, almost mechanically. "There's a card downstairs with a number. I'm supposed to call." "It is protocol when an agent refuses an operation," Cole asks. "What protocol?" Miguel answers emptily. "When an agent refuses to continue, they come, they talk to you. They explain the consequences. If you still refuse, well." Miguel does not finish the sentence. Frank Wisner enters. He heard the last part of the conversation. Wisner smiles without emotion. "Mr. Medina, it seems the Guatemalans tried to blackmail you." "Despicable, right?" Miguel looks at Wisner. "Did you hear what my brother said?" Wisner nods. "I heard his propaganda, emotional manipulation, a classic technique." Miguel asks very quietly, "Have you ever heard about the person I killed?" Wisner shrugs. "Mr. Medina, in war, people die." Miguel shouts, "This is not a war. War is when both sides know they are fighting." This is murdering innocent people through a radio. Wisner coldly. Innocent in relation to what? To communism. They were members of a government that Miguel interrupts. My brother is right. I have to stop. In this moment, Cole takes a step forward. He stands between Miguel and Wisner. Cole says, "So do I." Wisner looks at both of them, then slowly extracts a pistol from his holster. Wisner explains calmly, "Gentlemen, you have both just committed treason against the state. You have exposed a classified operation to enemies. You have endangered the lives of American servicemen." Wisner points the pistol at Cole. "Mr. Cole, you were a professional. I did not expect this stupidity from you." Cole answers, not moving, "And I did not expect the Central Intelligence Agency to commit murder." Wisner pulls the trigger. The bullet passes near Cole's head. A lamp falls behind him. Cole does not move. Miguel does not either. Wisner looks at them in amazement. He pulls the trigger again. The second bullet hits the wall. Wisner mutters, "Why are you not running?" Cole answers quietly, "Because, Mr. Wisner, you do not want to kill us. Because we are Americans. Because if you kill us, it becomes a real scandal, and you fear scandal more than war." Wisner lowers the pistol. His hand is shaking. Wisner whispers, "You do not understand what you have done. You do not understand that the Guatemalan government will fall in 2 days without a single shot fired," Cole says. "And how many people have to die for that to happen?" Wisner does not answer. He just turns around and walks out of the studio. Guatemala City, Presidential Palace. 2 hours later. President Jacobo Arbenz sits in his office with Captain Medina. On the table is a map of the country. But instead of red circles marking riots, now red circles mark cities where reports come in. There is no invasion. It is propaganda. Arbenz looks at the map, then at Medina. Arbenz speaks very calmly. "Captain, have you heard?" Medina nods. Sir Arbenz points at the map. People have stopped believing. They no longer see an enemy. Because you showed them the enemy face. You made the enemy human. Medina does not understand. "Sir?" "I did not," Arbenz interrupts. "You gave them hope, Carlos. You told them about your brother, about his doubts. You showed them that even enemies are capable of reflection, of mercy." Arbenz stands and walks to the window. But hope is dangerous for empire. Empire needs certainty. Certainty that an enemy is an enemy, that there are no shades of gray, no doubts. Arbenz turns to Medina. "Captain, tomorrow I'm resigning. Tomorrow a new government, the one America chose. But you gave us one night of hope." "That is more than I could have expected," Medina asks. And my brother, Sir Arbenz, stays silent for a long time. "Your brother can be free or he can be dead. That depends on how merciful America is." Honduras, Swan Island radio station, dawn. Cole stands before the microphone. In his hands is the final script. Wisner gave an order. Finish the operation with maximum drama, maximum theatrics, total government collapse. But Cole looks at Miguel, who sits nearby, at his face, at the tears rolling down the young man's cheeks. Cole takes the script. Slowly, in front of Wisner, he tears it into pieces. Wisner jumps from his chair. "What are you doing?" Cole answers calmly. "I am doing what I should have done 3 months ago." Cole turns on the microphone. His voice sounds tired but honest. "Citizens of Guatemala, this is Thomas Cole. I was part of this operation. I read scripts. I created the illusion of an invasion. I made you believe lies." Wisner jumps at Cole. He tries to turn off the microphone. Miguel intervenes. A struggle breaks out between them. Cole, holding onto the microphone, continues. People died. Families were destroyed. And this happened because I and people like me, we allowed ourselves to believe that lies could serve truth. Miguel successfully pushes Wisner. He falls to the ground. Cole finishes. I have nothing more to say, but I want you to know, in your country are people who see the truth, people who are willing to die for it, people like Captain Carlos Medina. Listen to him, trust him, and forgive yourselves for believing us. Cole turns off the microphone. Wisner sits on the ground. He looked into the eyes of a man who just destroyed the operation and found no reason to stop him. Because Cole was right, and Wisner knew it. Guatemala City, the streets, dawn. When people heard Cole's voice, something changed in the air. Uncertainty turned into clarity. There is no invasion. It is radio propaganda. And there are people against this propaganda. People came out into the streets, not in panic, but in silence. Dignity had returned. Captain Medina listens to this broadcast from his office. He hears Cole's voice, the voice of an American who speaks truth about his own people. Medina understands. His brother is safe, not because Wisner will spare him, but because now America has no reason to kill him. But history tells us that in 2 days, Arbenz will fall anyway, that a new government will be installed anyway, that over the next 36 years, the Guatemalan Civil War will still kill 200,000 people. But in this moment, in this hour of dawn, there is a piece of hope. And this piece of hope is called Thomas Cole and Miguel Medina, 2 people who chose words of truth instead of words of lies, even when truth lost. Radio frequency 7.62, Chapter 3. White Noise, Guatemala City, Presidential Palace, June 21st, 1954, 6 in the morning. President Jacobo Arbenz wakes up for the last time in the presidential chair, not in his bedroom, in the chair. Next to him sits cold coffee. On the table lies a newspaper with the headline, Army dissolves, government falls, but it is not true. The army still holds the front. The government still functions. This is Tomorrow newspaper, a newspaper from Honduras. A newspaper brought this morning by American couriers. Arbenz understands. He has already lost. He just has not surrendered yet. Footsteps in the corridor. Captain Carlos Medina enters with a file in his hands. On his face is exhaustion and something else, something that looks like relief. Medina places the file on the desk. Sir, we've intercepted a transmission from Honduras, a new order from the Americans. They demand your resignation by noon. Arbenz looks at the clock. Noon is 6 hours away. 6 hours to choose, death or exile, Arbenz asks. And my people Medina answers, Sir, people no longer believe the radio, neither ours nor theirs. There is silence. People are waiting. Arbenz stands. He walks to the window. Below, the plaza, a few people, just a few, not crowds, just people who are waiting. Arbenz speaks very quietly. Carlos, do you know what will happen to me if I leave? Medina says nothing. Arbenz continues. I will be the first democratically elected president of Latin America to be overthrown as a result of a foreign coup. History will remember this, and it will remember the reason. Land reform. An attempt to give land to peasants. Arbenz turns to Medina. How revolutionary is that idea? Medina answers. Sir, it is not revolution, it is justice. Arbenz nods. Yes. Justice. And it turns out justice is incompatible with American interests. He sits back down. He begins to write a letter of resignation. His hand does not shake, but each word is a blow to his heart. After the third paragraph, Arbenz stops. He looks at what he has written. Suddenly he stands. He grabs the letter with both hands and tears it into pieces, into small pieces. Medina jumps. Sir Arbenz ignores him. He tears the letter more and more. Pieces fall to the floor, white squares with words about capitulation. Arbenz screams, no once, loudly, from deep within. Arbenz breathes heavily. He looks at Medina. In his eyes is wild pain. Arbenz speaks between breaths. I will not sign. I will not sign an order for my own death. Let them kill me, but I will not help them. Medina speaks quietly. Sir, if you do not leave, there will be bloodshed. Arbenz looks down at the pieces of the letter. It has already begun, Carlos. It has already begun. He walks to a portrait on the wall, a portrait of his predecessor, President Arevalo. Arbenz looks into the eyes of the portrait and speaks. I try to change the world with words, with justice, with laws. But the world does not want to change. It wants to stay the same, and it kills those who try to change it. Arbenz takes the portrait off the wall. He holds it in front of him. Arbenz continues, speaking to the portrait as if to a living person. Did you know this? When you built democracy, did you know that empire would destroy it? The portrait says nothing. Arbenz places the portrait on the floor, very carefully, as if laying a person to sleep. Arbenz speaks to the portrait. Goodbye, sir. I could not finish what you started. Medina stands in the doorway. He understands. He is witnessing the fall of a man who chose dignity over life. Arbenz turns to Medina. On his face is calm. An icy calm of a man who has made his choice. Arbenz says, Carlos, go home. Tell your family that you were an honest man. That will be a truth that survives longer than all governments. Medina leaves. Behind him, he hears Arbenz open a new sheet of paper. Not a letter of resignation, a letter to the Americans. Medina does not know what it says, but he knows one thing. Arbenz will write what he wants, not what they want. Honduras, Swan Island radio station, same morning. Miguel Medina sits in a room without windows. It is not a cell. It is a room for guests of the Central Intelligence Agency. A bed, a table, a chair, and a guard outside. He has not slept for 2 days. He listens as the operation dissolves around him. He heard his brother call him by name on national radio. He heard Thomas Cole confess to killings. Now, silence. Nothing. No orders, no explanations. Miguel knows. His fate is already decided. Either he will disappear, or he will be killed. Or he will be sent to a long disappearance in some cell that no lawyer will find. There's a knock on the door. Frank Wisner enters. Face dead. Eyes like a man who has lost something that cannot be returned. Wisner says, Mr. Medina, I have brought you news, good news if I am being honest. Miguel does not answer. Wisner continues, your brother has agreed to a deal. He wants you to be released, alive, without consequences. Miguel raises his head. Why Wisner smiles without humor? Because Captain Medina is a hero, and heroes think with their hearts, not their heads. He demands your life in exchange for his loyalty to the new government, Miguel asks. What loyalty? Wisner explains. He will not talk about this operation. He will not give interviews. He will not write memoirs. His family will receive money, good money, and life, a normal life in a normal country. Miguel understands. His brother has sold himself to save him. Wisner adds, "You fly to New York today, then to Mexico City. Then you can choose Europe, Canada, anywhere, but not Guatemala. Never." Miguel stands. "I want to talk to him." Wisner shakes his head. "Impossible." Miguel screams. "I want to talk to him. My brother gave me his life, and I cannot even say thank you." Wisner coldly. "You can say thank you by living. That is all you need." Wisner leaves. The door closes behind him. Miguel sits on the bed and cries, not from fear, from shame. Guatemala City, streets, noon. Helen Cole walks out of San Juan de Dios Hospital. She sees troop movements. She hears sounds of combat readiness, jeeps, motorcycles, trucks. The doctor she worked with for 2 days approaches her. "Miss Cole, you need to leave. Combat operations will begin soon," Helen asks. "Is this a real invasion?" the doctor answers. "No. But people no longer distinguish between real and unreal. 2 days of radio propaganda killed their ability to believe." Helen remembers Tom's voice. She remembers how it sounded 8 years ago when they were happy. She remembers how it sounded in the last broadcast when he confessed his lies. Helen asks the doctor, "Did you hear the final broadcast, that American?" Cole. The doctor nods. "I heard it," Helen says calmly. "That was my husband, my ex-husband." The doctor looks at her with new understanding. He understands. This woman saved children in the country that her own husband destroyed. The doctor takes Helen's hand. "Miss Cole, you need to leave, immediately. And remember, what he said at the end is not forgiveness. It is just words that sounded good." Helen nods. She knows this. She always knew this. Helen walks into an alley. She cries. But not from pain. From something deeper. From understanding that love and betrayal sometimes wear the same face. Presidential Palace. 12:45 in the afternoon. President Arbenz signs a letter. But it is not a letter of resignation. It is a letter to the American ambassador. The letter is short, 4 paragraphs. It says, "I am not resigning on the orders of a foreign power. I remain the president of Guatemala. If you want to overthrow my government, do it with tanks, not words. Let the whole world see how democracy bleeds under American treads." Arbenz signs the letter. His signature is steady. Captain Medina enters again. "Sir, the Americans demand an answer. The army is already at the border." Arbenz gives him the letter. "Deliver this to the ambassador." Personally. Medina takes the letter. He opens it. He reads. Medina says, "Sir, this is a declaration of war." Arbenz answers, "No, Carlos, this is a declaration of justice." Medina leaves. He understands. Within the hour there will be combat, not a radio broadcast, real bullets, real blood, but at least it will be an honest war. Guatemala City. Captain Medina office. 1 hour later, Carlos Medina receives confirmation. His brother is alive. His brother is free. His brother is already on his way to New York. Medina turns on the radio. He catches Thomas Cole's voice. He is reading his final message. Cole speaks into the microphone, and his voice sounds like a confession. "This is the final broadcast of the Voice of Liberation. The operation is complete. We have done our work. Democracy is restored. History is changed. That is what radio can do. That is what one man with a microphone can do." Cole pauses. He breathes. His voice becomes personal, wounded. "I do not know if anyone believes me. I do not know if God will forgive me." but I know one thing. A voice that has heard truth once never forgets the sound of it. And maybe someday Guatemala will hear a voice that tells the truth, just the truth, and words will finally be in agreement with reality. The airwave closes. Medina turns off the radio. He stands slowly. He walks to the window. He looks at the city. In this moment, he hears the first explosions. Somewhere at the edge of the city, not loud, but real. Bombs, real bombs. The radio war has ended. The real war has begun. Honduras, Swan Island radio station, evening. Thomas Cole packs his things, clothes, notebooks, letters. He finds a letter he wrote to Helen, a letter he never sent. Cole rewrites the letter, a new letter, new pain. He writes, and his hand shakes. Helen, I know you are in Guatemala, saving people, while I was killing them. I want to say I'm sorry. But an apology is just another lie, another word that sounds good and means nothing. Cole stops. He takes the letter. His hands shake so badly he can barely write. Cole continues. If you ever read this, know, I will die in obscurity, without a name, without a story. And that is right, because I did the same to thousands of people. I erased their stories with false words. Cole puts down the pen. He looks at the letter. Cole finishes with one line. Forgive me, even if I do not deserve it. Cole places the letter in an envelope. On it, he writes with a shaking hand. Helen Cole, Guatemala. He knows the letter will never arrive, but he writes it anyway, because it is the only real action he has taken in 3 months. Wisner enters the room. Face cold, Wisner says. Are you ready? Mr. Cole nods. I am ready, Wisner explains. You will have a new name, a new story. You will live in Miami. You will work at a local radio station. You will forget about Guatemala, about your voice, about the people you killed. Cole stands. He takes his suitcase. Wisner adds, Mr. Cole, one thing. If you ever try to tell this story, Cole interrupts. I know. An accident, a bullet, poison, history is full of examples. Wisner nods. I'm glad we understand each other. Cole walks to the door. Wisner stops him. Mr. Cole. Cole turns around. Wisner says, What do you feel? Really, Cole answers honestly. I feel that my voice is not me. It is a weapon used against people, and that weapon is no longer mine. It belongs to the world, and the world will use it against me. Cole leaves. Wisner stays alone. He thinks about what Cole said, and he understands. Cole is right. Words once spoken can never be taken back. Guatemala City. Captain Medina office. Night. Carlos Medina works all night. He writes a report about his investigations, about the fake invasion, about psychological warfare, about deaths that happened because of words. The report is 472 pages, perfectly written, with all the evidence, with all the names, with all the orders. When dawn appears outside the window, Medina finishes writing. He takes the report. He seals it in an envelope. On the envelope, he writes in large letters, "Open after my death." Medina places the envelope in a safe. He tells no one about it. This is his insurance, his voice for the future, because in the present, he must be silent. At the same time, an American officer enters. With a check, the officer says, "Captain Medina, this is your pension for your loyalty, for your silence." Medina looks at the check. The amount is large, enough to live comfortably, enough to forget. Medina takes the check. He looks at it, then slowly tears it into pieces. The American says, "Sir." "What are you doing?" Medina answers. "I am refusing. I will not take money for silence." The American is surprised. "Sir, you will lose your pension. You will be discharged." Medina nods. "Yes, I know." Medina walks to the window. He looks at the city where combat operations are now taking place. Combat operations that began because two people decided to speak the truth. Medina tells the American, "My brother is alive. That's enough for me." The American leaves. Medina stays alone. He knows. Tomorrow he will be fired. Tomorrow he will be discharged. Tomorrow will begin his long, silent life. But today, he remains an honest man. 3 years later, Guatemala City, Civil War. Captain Carlos Medina works as a taxi driver. An old car, small income. He keeps a radio in his car. He listens to the news, new American radio stations. New voices, new lies. History repeats itself, with new characters, with new technology, with new pain. And Medina understands. He was right. History does not learn. History simply repeats itself. One day he receives a letter from New York, from Miguel. The letter is short. "Carlos, thank you for saving me, for being honest when everything else was a lie. I am doing well here. I will become a writer. I will tell stories about people who choose truth, even when truth costs more." The letter is signed, "Your brother, Miguel." Medina reads the letter in his old car. He cries, but these are tears of relief. His brother is alive. His brother is free. His brother will tell their story. Miami, Florida, 2 years later. Thomas Cole sits in a small house near the beach. A new name, a new life, a new story. On the table is a bottle of whiskey, half empty, maybe half full, depending on your perspective. Cole listens to the radio, a new station, a fresh voice, a young announcer. The announcer reports, "The new government of Guatemala under Colonel Carlos Diaz has announced the beginning of reconstruction. Land reform has been canceled. Land is returned to its previous owners. 53 murders of union leaders have already been recorded." Cole turns off the radio. He pours whiskey. On the table is a letter from New York, from Miguel Medina. The letter begins like this. "Tom, I know where you live. I know your new name. I could expose you, but I will not." Cole reads the letter in his trembling hands. The letter continues. "I will not, because my revenge is to let you live. Live with what you have done. Listen every day to news about Guatemala. Listen about people who are dying, and know your voice is killing them, even now, even in silence." Cole folds the letter. He can no longer read. The letter ends. "You asked my brother for forgiveness in your final broadcast. I give you his. But this forgiveness comes without relief. Live with it." Cole puts down the letter. He looks at the sea outside the window. He understands. Miguel is right. This is the worst punishment. Not death, not prison. Life, knowing what you have done. Cole raises his glass of whiskey, a toast to his own curse. Guatemala City, 40 years later. Archive of the National Historical Museum. Carlos Medina is dead. Exactly 1 hour ago. His grandson, also named Carlos, is in the archive. An archive assistant shows him a sealed envelope. On the envelope, in large handwriting, "Open after my death." Young Carlos opens the envelope with shaking hands. Inside are 472 pages, a report, in Spanish, in English, in Portuguese. Young Carlos begins to read, and he sees his grandfather's life. He sees what his grandfather kept secret for 40 years. He sees names, he sees dates, he sees orders, he sees a story that was never told. Young Carlos finishes reading 3 hours later. He is crying. On his face is the expression of a man who just realized. His grandfather was a hero. Young Carlos rushes to Geneva, to the International Archive, to a human rights organization. He gives them the report. He tells them, "This is my grandfather's story. This is the story of a Central Intelligence Agency operation. This is the story of how radio overthrew a government. International Tribunal, The Hague. 2 weeks later, Medina report is printed, it is distributed, it becomes known. Historians appear, journalists appear, documents appear. History begins to open after 40 years of silence. But the main figures are no longer alive. Wisner died 20 years ago. Kohl died 15 years ago. Arbenz died in exile 30 years ago. Only history remains, and it tells the truth that no one wanted to hear. New York, apartment of writer Miguel Medina. Today, Miguel Medina, now 84 years old, sits in his apartment. On the table are stacks of books, his books. They are all about the same thing, about voices, about lies. About people who choose truth. He hears the news on the radio. His brother has been recognized as a hero. His report has become a historical relic. Miguel smiles. Sadly smiles. Miguel says to himself, "Carlos, this is too late, but it is still the truth." Miguel turns on an old tape recorder. He plays a recording. On it is a voice, Thomas Cole voice, the final broadcast, a confession of lies. Miguel listens to this voice one more time, and he understands. In the end, it was the only moment when Cole told the truth. Miguel turns off the tape recorder. He sits in his chair. He closes his eyes. He thinks about his brother, about Cole, about Arbenz, about millions of people who lost everything because one man had a microphone and the ability to sound like an authority. And Miguel understands. History will never change because microphones only become more powerful. Central Intelligence Agency Archive, Washington, today. In the basement, declassified documents of Operation PBSUCCESS lie on shelves. A young historian flips through the documents. His name is Daniel. He is the grandson of Captain Carlos Medina. He reads his grandfather report. He reads names. He reads stories. When he finishes, he understands. This is not just the story of the past. This is a warning for the future. Daniel writes an article, then a book, then a documentary film. The book becomes a bestseller. People read, they learn, they understand the danger. But here is what is interesting. People are not horrified by what happened in the 1950s. People look at the internet, at social media, at voices that sound like authority. And people understand. This can happen again. Right now, in real time, on every mobile phone, because microphones have become even more powerful, and voices have become even more convincing, and the people who want to deceive have only become more clever. Final scene, a radio station, any city, any country. Today, a young announcer sits before a microphone, a beautiful voice, clear pronunciation, authority. He reads the news. The new government has announced the beginning of economic reforms. The opposition calls them communist. We want you to know the truth. Listeners at home, believe him. Because the voice sounds true. Because the numbers sound specific. Because the information sounds logical. No one knows. Is this really the truth, or is it just another operation of psychological warfare? And the young announcer himself does not know. He is just reading a script that was given to him. A script written in an office that looks like a press bureau, but it is not. The camera moves to the room behind the studio. There sits a person, a woman. She looks at the young announcer through the glass, and she smiles. On her desk is a poster. Operation Voice of Truth. Date, 2024. History has not changed, only the technology. And people still believe voices that sound like authority. The end.